Welcome back, world. It's Tony Florial again, and tonight I'm over at the Cleveland Airport in Cleveland, Ohio. I just flew in from Orlando, Florida, had a wonderful trip down there, and now I'm moving on. What I wanted to talk about this time is continuation and significance of signs. I wasn't sure where I was going to head to, and just decided, hey, just do what I do best and surrender and pay attention to my environment. And I had the feedback come to me that I was supposed to go to Boston. I had set the flight for New York, and while waiting at the airport I noticed that the flight loads were almost full and that the plane was delayed. So I went onto the computer to find out what were other flights that it could take, and I felt that going to Cleveland was the best situation. And considering that while I was standing in line during security, I noticed that a gentleman had a Boston Red Sox baseball cap on. And I also remembered back when I was on Twitter and releasing significance of sign video, one of a gentleman that I've been following on the internet, Jason Silvestri, is from Boston as well, and he had posted up my video up on Twitter as something to check out. So I paid attention to those signs, and I realized that, hey, maybe I should be heading over to Boston and meeting Jason myself. So I looked on the computer and saw that the flights were much more open for me to head out to Boston through a layover in Cleveland. So that's where I'm at right now. I'm in Cleveland, and that's pretty much how I live my life, is to pay attention to the feedback that I receive from the environment. Anytime I feel confused or I have the monkey chatter mind running circles in my head, I pretty much, once I realize, I surrender to that higher power, and then I just stay silent and I wait for information or messages to come to me. So that's one thing I wanted to talk about. The other things, more or less, is to avoid forcing creativity. We always have a tendency to try to grind things and force things to happen, but the quality of work that you may put out, regardless, or with any field that you're involved in, it's most important that you learn to deliver the message once you're inspired. Do what you can to motivate yourself when you're not feeling up to par, and at least put yourself in the field to present the best information or present the best quality of work that you can, but never force it, because what happens is it's coming from the ego, and it's not necessarily going to be the best work that you can actually give at the moment. And sometimes you do have to grit it through. I understand that, but most of the time, if you find out what you're doing is not working, it's very important to just take a break, just walk away from whatever you're doing at that moment, take a walk, go for a hike, just get away from that environment, so that way that you give your mind a rest. And you'll find out when you do decide to take a break, then the answer starts coming to you, and the information and knowledge starts to be downloaded, and then you'll see that you can come back to your work with a fresh set of perspective, and it'll be much more quality from there. So, and finally, the last thing that I've encountered on my trip is just I think it was yesterday, it was Memorial Day, and it was pretty much a remembrance of all the veterans that have fought in wars. And I couldn't help to think about my own grandfather who had fought in World War II, and I believe the Korean War as well. But he never really talked about the war. But I remember like hearing him talk to another, my uncle, who also had fought in the Vietnam War, and I remember hearing them talking about being in, you know, the chaos of bullets flying by and whizzing by their heads, and you know, actually seeing their fellow comrades get hit or even killed. Yet they were always wondering, why is it that they weren't the ones that were ever touched by a bullet or hit by a grenade, and you know, that got me to think, you know, about how life is, and you know, it's just almost you know, you think about like the whole science behind that. What is the possibilities of not getting hit? The probability, the science would probably say that you're more than likely to ever get hit with you know, any implements of war, but yet my grandfather and my uncle were spared. So it kind of goes deeper, where you realize that it's almost miraculous, and that they had like a higher purpose to continue on with life. And you know, we always remember the ones that have fallen, but it just seems miraculous to me. It just defies logic, considering, like, you know, the number of bullets that are just whizzing there with the machine guns, and you know, my grandfather and my uncle never ever got scratched. So that got me thinking quite a bit. And so in regards to our own personal fears, sometimes we have to look at it from a different frame of reference, or even any issues that we have in our life, that sometimes you know, we have to look at it from another point of view, and say, hey, you know, maybe it could be worse than what's going on with me now. Other people have been through worse catastrophes and tragedies, and what I'm going through right now, is it really that bad? And the last thing I wanted to talk to you was just in regards to that, but you know, in regards to having fears, you know, it's fair for us to recognize that we are limiting ourselves, and it's just more or less feedback to tell you where you are at the moment, and to not allow fear to paralyze your life, but to, in essence, make you feel more alive, so that you do take those steps out there and you know, accomplish what you want in life, to fulfill your potential, and to realize you know, that once you do step out there, you surrender to a higher source and you allow it to flow through you, you're going to be able to do the things that you never thought you could do or possible. And you know, when you think about like war, I mean, you'd be able to, you're not even in that situation, so you know, how brave and how much courage that all those soldiers had to fight for freedom. And these days, you know, we're just fighting our own ego. So you know, face the ego and don't allow it to take you down. Just, you know, watch it and lovingly be with it, and you'll find that you'll be doing far amazing things that you ever thought were possible. So I hope you enjoyed this segment, and look forward to sharing more with you once I get to Boston. So I'll speak to you guys again, and shine on from them. Bye.